a lot about exercise, right? So that's been a big part of the topic for this session. So I know many people know this number, right? You've probably heard this before, that people say you need 10,000 steps every day to be in good shape. Okay, now have you guys heard that before? Have you guys heard of this number, 10,000 steps? Do some of you know this before? Like maybe you use a Apple Watch or something to keep track of how many steps you have. Have you heard this before? Anybody?
Use my watch,
Yeah.
and I see how many steps doing during the day.
So do you try to do 10,000?
Yes.
Okay, so you follow this recommendation. You follow
Yes.
this advice. Okay, all right. Okay, anybody else follow this recommendation of 10,000 steps? Anybody else? No?
Yeah, me too.
You too. Okay.
Yeah.
So Barbara, do you do 10,000 steps every day?
Yes.
Really? Wow. Well, of course you guys are running, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I try 10,000 steps from here to the refrigerator. That's not so that's a lot of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, well, anyway. Well, what's interesting, guys, is I've heard that number for a long time. 10,000 steps, 10,000 steps. Well, here's something interesting. Maybe you don't need 10,000 steps. So I'm going to show you this article. This article came out a little while ago, but people have talked about this for a long time. Do we actually need 10,000 steps? And so what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about it. So let me pull it up here. Hold on, guys. So let me pull up the 10,000 steps article just to show you. Okay. All right, hold on. Thought I had it here. All right, let me switch screens here. Okay. All right. So the question is, do we really need 10,000 steps? And really, the question is an interesting one because many people think 10,000 is a very important number. But here in this article, they ask this question, do we really need to take 10,000 steps? Now, what's interesting is in the article, they say that this is more of like maybe what we see in a commercial. In fact, they mention it's more of a marketing accident. So not really a real scientific kind of thing. But notice it says here, taking far fewer may have notable benefits. So what they're saying here is that you don't necessarily need 10,000 steps. So what I just want to show you real quickly here is this was created according to this professor. So this professor said that at the time, the 10,000 steps target became very popular in Japan in the 1960s. So during the Tokyo Olympics. So what they're saying is during the Olympics, people talked about 10,000 steps, 10,000 steps. And so it became kind of a popular number. And people said, oh, I need this 10,000 steps. But what's interesting is that was probably not necessarily true. But basically what they say is today's science, so it says today's best science suggests we do not need 10,000 steps a day. It probably depends on your age, right? So how old you are. And of course, how are you doing those steps? Are you just walking? Are you running? So what's interesting is it says here, they did a study and they found that women in their 70s, if they could do about 4,000 steps, that would help in terms of their life. And that maybe if you continued, that maybe about 7,000 steps would be okay. So again, I think the interesting thing is sometimes we get this idea, right? 10,000, 10,000. And then we say, oh, I need 10,000 steps every day. Now, of course, Carmen, Barbara, maybe those of you exercising every day, it's good. It's good to get exercise, right? It's good to get moving. But I think the idea of 10,000 steps, maybe that's more of a a commercial, more of like an advertisement that really may not necessarily be true. But of course, getting exercise is important, right? That's an important thing. But 10,000 steps, maybe you don't need 10,000. Maybe sometimes we need 5,000 or 7,000. It just depends on how you are getting these steps. Now, for me, if I'm just going to the refrigerator, that's probably not not good steps, right? So if you're running, or if you're doing some sort of, maybe riding a bicycle, some sort of exercise, I think that's fine, right? Okay. So guys, if you're not doing 10,000 steps, it's okay. It's okay. You can do some exercise, and that's still good. So I thought this was very interesting, that maybe we don't need 10,000 steps. We just need to exercise. So I think that's pretty good. But if you are getting 10,000 steps, congratulations. Okay. So if you're getting 10,000 steps, that's still pretty good. Okay. So again, maybe we don't need 10,000 steps, but exercise is always good. All right. Well, we're going to talk more about steps in just a moment. We're going to learn a new expression today using the word step. And then we're going to review some more vocabulary. And then we're going to do an activity of reading a graph. So I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So let's go back to that 10,000 step number. So for a long time, people were informed that 10,000 steps each day was necessary for good health. But now the thinking has changed. So here's what I want to ask you guys. Okay, so we have so many students from so many different countries. We have so many different ages, younger or a little bit older. So I want you to think for just a moment. What are some other pieces of health advice you remember hearing when you were younger that are now maybe not recommended or considered beneficial? So everyone, think for just a moment. When you were younger, what health advice do you remember hearing? Maybe from your parents, maybe from television, or from who knows. But maybe today, maybe that advice is not so good, or maybe it's changed. So 10,000 steps, I heard this a lot. That advice has changed. Okay, so guys, take a moment and think about this, and please share with us in the chat or the mic, what is some health advice that you think maybe now has changed? Now, I'm going to share one that I remember when I heard this as a kid. So everyone, if you look here in the chat, some of you may know the particular ingredient bran. Okay, so some of you may know bran, bran muffins, for example, or this type of grain was supposed to be good, supposed to be a good source of fiber. So maybe fiber is very important when we're eating, food. Like apples, for example, we get lots of fiber. So I remember as a kid hearing bran muffins were supposed to be, good. Eat more bran. So I told my parents, let's get some bran muffins and eat lots and lots of bran muffins. The problem is bran muffins also had a lot of sugar. So later people said, maybe don't eat. So, bran muffins maybe are not the best way to get bran. Maybe you should have, bread, for example, or cereal or something else. All right. So guys, what are some other health advice that you heard when you were younger that maybe now is not recommended? Anybody have any ideas? Anything to share with us?
Drink water.
Yeah, so Barbara, I hear that all the time. So how much water should I drink?
3 liters.
3 liters.
Yeah.
I'm just drinking bottles and bottles and bottles. Yeah. So for example, I always heard, Barbara, 8 glasses of water. So maybe that's about 3 liters. That's what I heard when I was younger. Now 8. It's not necessary. You can eat, you can drink, as long as you're drinking something during the day, that's good. So yeah, maybe we don't need that much. So Barbara, how much water do you drink?
Now I drink 3 liters because I'm pregnant, and
well, probably okay. Well, wait a minute. That's difference here between you and me. Okay, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. A little different. So maybe you need the water. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Now, Flora said drink a lot of milk. That's a good one, Flora. So, what do you think, Flora? Has it changed?
Yes, teacher. In this moment, I don't drink milk
So, why not?
uh,
Why not? Why is it?
because it's bad for my body. Yes,
Well, I heard the
but
same thing too when I was a kid. Drink your milk, drink your milk. Why? Why did
yeah,
we need
every
milk?
day, morning and the morning and the night,
Yeah.
every day, every day,
So why did they say drink milk?
because it's necessary for the calcium in
Yeah.
your body. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, calcium and vitamin D. That's what I always heard.
Okay.
Yeah, so what do you do now, Flora? Where do you get your calcium and vitamin
Because
D?
we have other meals with the same calcium,
Mm-hmm.
maybe vegetables or I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's different in this moment, especially for me because I can't to drink milk.
Well, certainly, and I'm in the same situation, Flora. So I think dairy, I think is what we're talking about, right? The dairy and milk. Some people think that's maybe bad for your stomach, for example. So but I completely agree. When I was a kid, it was, my mom said, drink your milk, drink your milk, drink your milk. And of course, I always said, can it be chocolate milk?
Yes,
That's,
with chocolate.
oh, of course. That's mom. As I'm putting the chocolate in the milk, mom, it's got more calcium. I can put more calcium with the chocolate, right? More vitamin. Yeah, not exactly. All
No.
right.
Mr. John.
Patrick, Edie, what about
Yeah.
you?
So I'd like just to add more to support
Sure.
what you're saying right now. When we were younger, in my family, our
Yeah.
parents told us that milk is the good source of calcium, and
Hmm.
milk helps strengthens bones.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what do you think now? Do you think milk is good for kids? Do you think children still need milk, or is there some other place where we can get calcium?
I think milk. There is other sources, but milk is still good for all ages.
Yeah. Well, so again, some people think that milk is still necessary. Yeah.
For all ages, yeah.
Yeah. Now, for me, I really have trouble with like dairy and cow's milk, so I don't drink those anymore. But I do think that there's still some benefit to it. Sure, absolutely.
And
Okay.
some studies prove that.
Well, and of course, Edie, the other thing I was going to talk about was coffee, because you hear so many different things about coffee.
Yeah.
When I was younger, coffee, too much caffeine, or maybe it's bad for you. And then later, some people said, no, some coffee is good. It's good for. So I think we always have these different changes in research and different ideas. So I think in this case, maybe milk's still pretty good, right? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes let's talk about a little bit about coffee. In my country, coffee is not good for younger people.
Right.
No, but someone told me 2 days ago that in Brazil, everyone drinks coffee.
That's what I thought.
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought every Brazilian just drinks coffee all the time, right?
Yeah,
Is this
no, we don't do that in my country.
okay? So coffee's
you.
considered bad. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Barbara, you're from Brazil, right?
Yeah.
So come on. Do you just give children a big thing of coffee?
No,
No,
but
no.
yeah.
When you were a kid, did you get coffee, like a little espresso?
No, my kids, no,
Okay.
just me.
Just you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. We've changed our mind. Lubna, what do you think?
I want to add something. Sometimes it's only the commercial. They said, for example, oat is not good for health or egg, but instead it's just for advertising or
Right.
they have their brand or something. So nowadays it's hard to trust someone if it's true good for health or no. So we should do more search and to be sure.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Lubna, because another product was eggs. When I was younger, eggs are considered good, but then they had cholesterol. There was always this discussion about is it good for your heart or is it good for your cholesterol. So so Lubna, when I was younger, we would get TV commercials and they would say eggs are wonderful, eggs have many benefits, have an omelet, and then you see that the commercial is by a company called the Egg Council. And you're like, wait a minute, who is the Egg Council? Who is this organization? And then you find out it's the egg industry. It's the group of people who sell eggs and produce eggs for the United States. So of course they're going to tell you eggs are good for you, right? Or like milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so drink your milk. Who's making the commercial? The United Dairy Association. So you're like, well, of course they're going to recommend milk, of course. Now, Patrick, you mentioned vegetables. Vegetables are good for us, right?
Yes, very good. It's healthy. It's help you to control your weight.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
very important. So how much
Yeah.
so one question always, Patrick, is how much should we eat? So are you always thinking about that? Because I'm trying to think more of making sure I get vegetables with my food. So what about you, Patrick? Are you thinking about that a lot?
Not a lot, but sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it, guys? They talk about how many servings of vegetables you should eat every day, and it's a lot. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to get that many vegetables every day?
But I think I have a solution. Maybe that
Okay.
could help
Let's hear it.
everybody here.
All right.
Sometimes it's complicated to have like vegetable on your table.
Sure.
So the right thing, for me, the right thing to do is just to make some smoothies with vegetable.
Okay. That's true.
And
I see a lot of smoothie recipes with like spinach, like as part of the smoothie. So that sounds weird. That sounds very strange. But I think that's an interesting comment. Yeah, with spinach or kale, for example, I often see that. In fact, guys, some of you may live in Fort Mitchell, and do you guys know there's a new smoothie place? There's a new
Really?
smoothie. Yeah, it's called the Better Blend. Some of you guys heard about this place?
No.
It's right here on Dixie Highway. Let me show you the. It's called the Better Blend, and it's right here in Fort Mitchell. So here, I'll share the link. If you, when we're finished here this morning, I'll share the link with everyone if you want to check it out. But Patrick, they
Yeah, of
make
course.
they make these healthy smoothies, and I guess you can get all kinds of things. Now, of course, you can get coffee smoothies and all kinds of things, but you can also get these bowls with different fruit. In fact, right now the real I think the real popular berry is the acai. Have you guys heard of this? The acai berry.
I love
No.
acai.
You love these? So Barbara,
Yeah.
are you just like eating acai berries all day?
Yeah,
Just like
no, it's
a
good.
snack. Just
Yeah.
reaching in the acai bucket.
Yeah,
Okay.
from Brazil.
From Brazil.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You've got a connection. You can help
Oh.
us get some Brazilian acai berries. Is that
Yeah.
okay? Okay, we'll talk later. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting. Well, anyway, so there you go, Patrick. This place is right here in Fort Mitchell. So when we're finished, guys, I'll share the link if you guys would like to go try it out. Lubna?
I hear that when you blend vegetables, they lose their fiber. So it's better to eat them than drink. That's what I hear. So if you want really,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, everybody, let's give thumbs down to Lubna here. Come on, Lubna. We were so excited that we could have vegetables
That's the truth.
in our delicious smoothies, and you're just telling us, nah, it's no.
Yeah.
Ooh, terrible. Okay, Lubna. All right. Don't invite Lubna to your next berry party. She's going to make it. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to share this link after we're finished, and you can check it out. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, guys, thanks so much for sharing. This was very interesting to hear what advice maybe you heard as a child. And I think it's true. It's
Excuse me,
hard.
excuse me, Mr. John.
Yeah, go ahead, Edie.
I have a last advice about
Okay, let's hear.
health. When we were younger, and I know if it was proven by any study, our parents told us that working barefoot outside can help.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if
So what do you think now? Do you still agree with that?
I have to look on Google. I have to Google it and see if some searches support that.
Well,
Working out barefoot and walking out barefoot can.
well, I think certainly there are some benefits. Like it's probably better for the structure of your foot, like to get exercise. For me, I used to love going outside without shoes, but now no way, absolutely not. So maybe the advice has changed. I don't know. Okay. Well, guys, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts and advice. Again, it's always interesting to hear what my students, what they've learned when they were younger. Okay, everybody, let's turn on our microphones. Come on, everyone, turn on your microphones. Let's say today's expression of the day. Ready? So, guys, repeat after me. To step up.
To
To
step
step
up.
up.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. You can turn off the mics for a moment. Now, maybe you've heard this expression before. In fact, this expression "step up" sounds like I go up the stairs, right? I step up, I step up, I step up. But no, this expression actually is talking about like how to deal with challenges or responsibilities. So when I ask somebody, you need to step up. I'm asking you to work harder, to do more, to give more effort. So, for example, at work, your boss might say, okay, everyone, we've got to finish this project. Everyone needs to step up, right? You need to work harder. You need to do more for this particular situation. So when we hear this step up, it just means, do more, work harder, face this responsibility or this challenge. Now, I was looking, trying to find out where did this expression come from. Now, of course, the word up. So you often see expressions with the word up, right? Pick up, right? All right. So if we get up. So often we think about up as, moving our bodies up or increasing something. So here, when we step up, it basically is like working more or working harder. But one possible meaning may come from the sport of baseball. So I don't know if we have any baseball fans here in the class, but when the hitter comes up to the plate. So let's take a look here. So here is the batter, right? This is the batter, and this is the plate. We call this home plate. So when the batter comes to home plate to take his bat, we often say the expression to step up to the plate, which means to be ready to hit the ball. So it's possible this expression may come from baseball. It also just comes from the idea of more, like working more, working harder, maybe going to the next level. So as I said before, stepping up from downstairs to upstairs. Again, could be a possible, excuse me, a couple of different places where this expression may come from. So to step up, you need to step up. So now, again, what we're going to do here, excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice some dialogues, and then we've had some questions that you and your partners are going to discuss. So again, let's take a look at each situation. So the first situation is an employee review. Okay, so sometimes the boss might review an employee's work after 3 months or 6 months or a year. At home, so of course this will be a discussion of people at their house. And then finally, we asked this question last week about pickleball, so I thought I would include pickleball as an activity. So again, if you notice here, pickleball looks like tennis, but it's a little different. For example, the court that they're playing is smaller, and the paddles that they use are smaller. So in this case, pickleball is like tennis, but it's a lot smaller. And usually you see older people playing pickleball, because it's not as much running or as much exercise, but still it's a good sport. So situation number 3 is talking about pickleball. Okay, and then finally, here are 3 discussion questions that you and your partner can talk about. Now, again, remember to step up, to work harder, to do more. So sometimes to meet a challenge or to do some more responsibilities. So if I say, for example, to the class, you need to step up and do your homework. That means you need to work harder, right? So in this case, that's the idea that you're going to see in these little dialogues. Okay? All right. Well, guys, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and we'll go ahead and get our small groups ready. So let's take a look and see how many rooms we'll have this morning. Okay. All right. So once again, we will have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we'll have 4 rooms. One group will have 3 people, and the other groups will have 2. All right, I think we're waiting maybe for 1 or 2 more people. All right, I think everyone. Okay, now everyone has returned. Okay, now we do not have time to talk about all of the questions this morning. So why don't we talk about question number 1? So when there is a job or a task that must be done, who is the person in your family who steps up and meets the challenge? All right, guys, so tell us, who steps up and meets the challenges in your family? Is it you or someone else?
It's me for me.
It's you. Okay. Well, of course it's you. You're going to say that, right? Of course. All right. Flora says it's me. Okay. Carmen, me. Wow. I have lots of responsible people here in the class.
In my case, my husband.
Neptali's the one who does it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell them that. I'll send them a message on Facebook.
He
I'll
knows.
say, he knows. Oh, he knows. Well, hey, okay, Dora, good answer. Okay. All right. So it says sister. Oh, interesting. So the older sister. Okay. Oh, Edie, he's the one who does it. Okay. Well, at least most of you say you and your. Oh, it's Barbara. Come on. What is that? 50-50? Come on, Barbara. That's an easy answer. Of course. Not your kids, right? You're not going to say your kids, are you? Of course not. Yeah, your kid. What is this with kids? Yeah, kids are, come on, they're lazy. Well, listen, I've got 2 dogs. My dogs do nothing. Sometimes I look at my dogs and I'm like, you should be helping here. They just look at me. So that's how it is. Oh, well. All right, Bo, what about you? Is it you or Jane or both?
Certainly, it's me.
Yeah? Okay. I'll ask her. Don't worry. I'll ask her later. We'll see what she says. Yeah, we'll see what she says. Well, it's interesting to hear, most of you think it's you. Okay, well, I'll ask your families. We'll see. Okay. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for sharing and thanks so much for taking part. Barbara's laughing here, of course. All right. Well, one more time, guys, our expression for the day, to step up. To step up. So this is a good expression that you can use in your house. You can say to your children, okay, children, it's time to step up. Okay, we got to work harder. School is going to start soon, right? Okay, kids, time to step up. Or husband, time to step up. Help me with this. Or wife, help me with this, right? So did you guys like my conversation number 2, where the family is saying you need to help me more with cooking and cleaning, and suddenly, wait a minute, that may not be such a good idea. So maybe this has happened to you before, right? Well, anyway, guys, thanks so much for sharing. Okay, well, let's move on in our presentation. So what I would like to do this morning is to continue talking about vocabulary. So we're going to do a group activity here this morning. And in this activity, we're going to look at 4 expressions or 4 words that we did not talk about last week. So in today's class, let's discuss those 4 examples. Okay, now everyone, let's say these together. So everyone, let's turn on our microphones. Okay, so guys, turn on the mics. Let's say these words together. Follow through.
Follow
Follow
through.
through.
Follow through.
End up.
And
And up.
And
Raise.
Raise.
Post.
Post.
Now, before we continue, which words are already familiar to you? Which words are already familiar? Do you know any of them?
Raise.
Raise.
familiar, Raise.
Yeah, I'm guessing most people probably have heard of raise, right?
And post.
Maybe post. Okay. These are probably words we use a lot, or at least we hear a lot. So we're going to review all of them. And of course, we can't talk about all of their definitions, but we are going to talk about some of their definitions. So what I'd like to do here this morning is we're going to do a group activity. So in this first activity, I'm going to show you a sample sentence that uses these words. And then I'm going to show you 3 choices. And what you're going to do using the chat, okay, so no microphones, just the chat, I want you to tell me which word from the choices is closest in meaning to the original sentence. So let's do these 2 examples using the word raise. Now, again, most of you have probably heard the word raise similar to the first example. All right, so everyone take a look at the sentence. I'm going to read the sentence. I'm going to read the 3 choices. In the chat, you can tell me, is the answer A, B, or C? Okay, so you can put your answer in the chat after I read the choices. All right, so here we go. I asked my boss yesterday for a raise in my pay. She said they could give me $1.25 more per hour starting next month. Okay, so look at the 3 choices there. Which one would be the answer? Okay, so just quickly put your answer in the chat. Okay. All right. So it looks like most people know. Maybe it's because we like these, right? We like getting raises. So if you chose increase, you are correct. So an increase would be more, right? An increase in pay, a raise in pay. All right, excellent. Okay, here is example number 2. This is using raise maybe in a different way. During the presentation, people from the audience began to raise some good questions about when the project would be finished. All right, now guys, look at your 3 choices here and put your answer in the chat. Okay. All right, so some people put A, most people have put C. Let's see what the answer is. It is C. So for example, when you raise a question, it basically means that you're asking a question or you bring up a question. Okay, so in this case, maybe this is a meaning of raise that I'm not as familiar with. So when we raise a question, we're trying to kind of get attention to this question. We're asking this in the situation. So now we can see there are 2 meanings to the word raise, right? Increase and to maybe ask or to bring up, like a question, for example. Okay. All right. So now we understand the exercise. So guys, once again, let's go through and use the chat to answer these questions. So I'm going to read the sentence and then give you a moment to choose which word is closest in meaning. My brother is very lazy. He never follows through with his chores around the house, so I always have to finish them. Okay, so guys, look at your 3 answers. Put your answer in the chat. Okay. All right. Looks like most people have answered. And so the answer is B. So when you follow through with something, it means you complete it. You complete it. So follow through with something means to complete something, like an activity or homework or some sort of task. All right. Here is number 2, end up. Okay. Look at the sentence. The movie we wanted to see was sold out, so we ended up seeing a different one. The movie we wanted to see was sold out, so we ended up by seeing a different one. Okay. All right, so it looks like quite a few people have answered. All right, guys. The answer is C. When we end up doing something, it means we did not plan for it. We came by it by accident. So in this case, it is not A, it was C. We came by accident. So in this case, the movie they wanted to see, they couldn't. So they had to change their plans. So they did it by accident. All right, here's number 3. My friend loves to post photos and inspiring messages on social media. All right, guys, look at your 3 choices. Okay. All right. Again, looks like most people have voted. All right. Okay. And it looks like most of us are correct. Yes. When we post something on media, we publish it, which means we make it available to the public. So when we publish, think of publish and public. We make it available to other people. Okay, now, of course, we're going to go back and review the meanings of these words, but now we're going to try to use them in some sentences. Now, for homework, I gave you some words for you to use in a sentence. But now let's see if we can kind of do it quickly by thinking about the meaning of the word and trying to use them here together. So again, let's use the word raise as our example. Now, what I would like to do is first, let's review the definitions that we learned. Now, of course, what you're going to see is that the word raise has lots of meanings. But let's talk about the meanings of the word we talked about. So, for example, the one meaning of raise we discussed was to think about putting something maybe in a higher position, like raising our money, or we can raise our hand, for example. Okay. We also mentioned raising the rate of something. So we mentioned raising our pay. So if we raise something, we increase it, right? So in this case, we raise our money or raise our pay. Hopefully our bosses will raise our pay. Okay. And then when we talked about raising a question, so there's a raise as an increase, right? So if we raise a question, so if you notice, that is, in this case, definition number 10. So there are a lot of definitions of this word. But if you notice, it says if you raise an emotion or a question, it means that people try to consider it or try to think about or even ask this particular question. So when we raise a question, we ask this question or bring it to everyone's attention. Okay, so again, as we said before, raise has a couple of meanings. So let's go back now to the presentation. Okay, guys, so here's what I'd like for you to do. I would like for you to finish this sentence. Okay, so again, let's use the chat to finish this sentence. It's important to raise questions when, okay, now everybody take a moment, think about it, and put your answer in the chat. When is it important to raise questions? Okay, so I'll give you a moment there. You can put your answer. Okay, all right, so, all right, okay, good, good. All right, so I wouldn't ask, right? Okay, good. All right, I'm seeing some good responses here. So I see when you don't understand or you don't know something. Good, good. Okay, now guys, let's think. Could there be another situation when it's important to raise a question? Okay. All right. Luna mentions when you're confused. That's a good one. Of course, sometimes we don't even know what question to ask. All right, we need to know something. Maybe when you want to know something. That's a good one. Oh, that's a good one, 80. When it's not clear. Yes, when it's unclear what the situation is. So, for example, maybe at work, right? We raise questions if we have some concerns or we're worried about something, right? When you have a question. Oh, that's a good one, Patrick. When we need an answer. That's why we always ask questions, right? When we need an answer. All right, excellent. Okay, excellent. Oh, I like this one, Lubna. Now, Lubna, are you talking about men or women? Because men, we don't like questions when we're lost, do we? Hmm? Men, we like to use Google Maps or something. Yeah. Oh, this is about you. Okay. All right. Yeah, Barbara's laughing at this one. I think Barbara knows. Okay, Barbara knows. All right. So Edie says, well, we need clarification. That's excellent. We've been talking about that in our Thursday class. In fact, we're going to talk about that this Thursday in conversation when we ask about opinions. All right, excellent. Okay, guys, here's the next one. So first off, let's go back and review the definition of follow through. Okay, so again, look here on the screen. So if you remember, we said when you follow through, it means to complete an activity that you have started. So if you notice, for example, he doesn't follow through on his good intention. Or task that we have started. All right, so let's return to our presentation. Okay, everyone, finish this sentence. Now notice it says when you were young. That means when you were a kid, okay, not yesterday. All right, so when I was young, it was difficult for me to follow through with. All right, so guys, think for just a moment. What was difficult for you to follow through with? Okay, so I'm going to put my answer. So for me, for example, my mom would always have me mow the lawn, cut the grass with the. It's always difficult for me to follow through with that. All right. All right. Edie says, okay, chores. Carmen says responsibilities. Yeah. So Carmen, maybe what? Like homework, for example, or cleaning your room. Yeah. All right, Livna, cleaning your room. Oh, I can't believe that. Dora, swimming class, really? You took swimming classes. Yeah, me too. I was terrible. I love swimming now, but I was terrible when I was learning swimming. I always wanted to hold the teacher. Don't let me go. All right, you're going to church. I understand. I know that. I know that one, Patrick. Oh, Flora, study and work at the same time. Yeah, it's hard to do those things. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to do those now. So what? No way. Come on, so what? I thought you were a good student. All right. Okay, these are great answers. I like these. Okay, so follow through. When we follow through with something, it means to complete, to finish some activity or task. So some responsibility, right? We follow through with things. All right. Okay. Okay, guys, I think we have two more. All right, so end up. End up. Remember end up? Let's look up the definition again. Okay. So when we end up, it means we reach or come to a place, condition, or situation that was not planned. Now, for example, maybe you ended up here in the United States. Maybe you had no plans to come to America, but you ended up here. So in this case, we end up in a place sometimes by accident. Look at the examples here on the screen. The book ended up in the trash. Maybe it accidentally got into the garbage can. How about this one? She ended up a rich woman. Wow. That would be pretty interesting, right? Maybe you could end up a rich person. Yeah, so when we end up in a situation, it means we didn't plan it. It was just by accident. We didn't expect it. Here we are. Maybe you ended up in our English class. Maybe you had no plans, and here you are in our program taking classes. Of course, we ended up online, right, because of the pandemic. So that happened too. All right, well, let's take a look at our sentence. Okay, everyone. Now, if you notice, when we use the word end up, we often can use an ing word after it. So guys, look at my sentence. It says, sometimes when I don't have any plans, I end up doing something. Okay, now let me give you an example. So for me, for example, I might say something like this: I end up doing nothing. If I have when I don't have plans, I just end up doing nothing. Maybe I end up sitting in my chair. Maybe taking a nap. So Carmen, there you go. So Carmen, is this taking a nap? Like taking a nap, or like really like sleeping a long time? Oh, I see. What do you, 30 minutes? An hour? All right. Okay, guys, what other things happens to us? What do we end up doing? If you have no plans, what do you do? Again, I usually just do nothing. I end up doing nothing. All right, Barbara. See, I was hoping someone would say watching Hulu or Netflix, YouTube. I can watch YouTube for hours. All right, so I said shopping. So what? I think that's my wife's answer. All right, Bo, end up fixing your microphone, really? Interesting. Dora says cooking dinner. That's a great answer. All right, Dora, I'll be at your house this afternoon. Okay. Flora says watching a series. Flora said, do you Netflix? Is that it? YouTube? Okay, Barbara says she loves YouTube too. I know, I do too. I can end up watching YouTube for hours. I find all kinds of videos. Okay. I had Netflix for a long time, but we don't have it anymore. Money. It's paying money. All right. All right, guys, any other things we do? We end up doing? No plans. We just end up doing them. It's interesting that nobody said this one. Interesting. No one said this. Nobody? Nobody just ends up studying English or doing Burlington on their phone or computer? No one? Dora thinks that's funny. Soad does. Okay, good, Soad. I'm glad. Makes me happy. All right. So guys, when we end up doing something, it means we do them by accident, right? No plans. Okay. All right. Actually, that was our last one. Okay. Now, again, post, if you remember, we mentioned post. We post things on YouTube. We post things on Facebook. So maybe you post things on social media. I like to post pictures. So maybe you like to post things too. So that's what I like to do. I like to post pictures. Okay. Well, guys, with the last part of our time here this morning, we're going to do another breakout room activity. Now, in this lesson, the lesson was also talking about how to read a graph. Now, a graph is a sort of visual way to look at information. Now, there are many different kinds of graphs, and actually we'll talk more about that next week. So this morning, we're going to look at one particular graph and see if we can interpret what the graph means. Now, the type of graph we're going to look at this morning is called a bar graph. A bar graph. Now, you've probably seen bar graphs before, so we're going to show the bar graph here in just a moment. But as you look at the bar graph, there are some questions that you and your group will discuss using the information that you see on the graph. Now, we're going to take about 8 minutes or so to do the activity. So when I put you into the small group, you and your partners will look at the graph and look at the questions that you see on the activity. Now, guys, this is the graph. This is the graph that you are going to see here with your group. So if you notice, let's take a look here at the top. So the graph says that it is talking about the percentage of people aged 15 years and older who played sports and or exercised on an average day by activity from 2009 to 2015. So this is talking about 6 years or so of information. Now, before you say, Mr. John, where does this information come from? If you look here at the bottom, there is a U.S. government organization called the U.S. Bureau of
It's
Labor
not accurate.
Statistics. Well, again, Patrick, we'll see. This is how people report the information. Maybe it's true, maybe not. But the idea is
1.5 for soccer? No.
well, 1.5%. So keep in mind, we're talking about Americans here, right? So you'll get a chance to talk about your country in just a moment. But for example, if you notice, guys, let's take a look and answer a question. It's not here on the screen. There are 4 questions here, but on this screen, what do you see as the most popular activity based on this report? What do you see?
Walking.
Walking. So in this case, 30%, right? Do you see that number there? 30% of people who reported say this is their most sort of common activity. Now, we were talking about walking here at the beginning of class, right? 10,000 steps. So 30% of people who reported this information, they said walking was the number one activity. Now, of course, the idea here is you and your partners are going to discuss these 4 questions. So let me just read the questions very quickly. So question 1 says, what does the graph show? Okay, so what do you see on the graph? Number 2, compare 2 bars on the graph. Now remember, bars, these are bars. Okay, so as you can see, some bars, of course, are bigger, right? Some bars are smaller. So it says here, when we compare 2 bars, explain which sport or exercise and say what % of people do each. So just choose 2 and talk about them and compare them. Okay, number 3. Now, Patrick, this was you already talked about this one. Do you find anything about the graph surprising? So maybe, for example, you're surprised by the 1.5%. I'm surprised too. And then finally, it says this graph is for the United States. Do you think it would show the same results if we were talking about your country or different, and how? So that's what you and your group are going to talk about. Now, here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm going to change the groups so that each group will have people representing different countries. So I'm going to shuffle the groups around a little bit. So each group here will have 3 people. So I'm looking here. I'm going to change a couple of groups around right now. Okay, so that way we have groups from different people. Okay, excellent. So each group will have 3 people. When you go into the room, I will share the link to this chart. And again, like I said, we'll take about 7 or 8 minutes to answer those questions. Okay, and especially talk about question number 4. Maybe you can even begin with question number 4, because you can talk about what do you think would be different from your country? Would it be the same, or do you think it would be different? All right, well, guys, we're going to go back to the breakout rooms, and then I will come in and share the link. All right, guys. We had to come back maybe about a minute early because I wanted to make sure we had enough time to check our answers to some of the questions. So what I would like to do is I'm going to do number 2, and I'm going to choose 2 activities on the graph, and I want you guys to help me. So for example, let's compare running and yoga. All right, so guys, take a look at the graph. We have running and yoga. All right, now, no chat. I want to hear a microphone. I want to use mics for this. So first off, guys, who can tell me what percentage of people reported running as their activity? Who could say the answer for us?
8.6%.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to hear. 8.6. 8.6. So when we give percentages or these kinds of numbers, especially here in the United States, we say point for that little dot, right? So maybe in your language, what would you say? Would you say 8 point? or would you say 8 dot? What would you say? 8.6? What
Eight
would you say?
diamond, something like that.
Point. Yeah.
The
Point?
same.
Yeah.
8 point.
Good, good. Because sometimes students get point and for example, like .com. Some people get those confused, right? So we don't say 8.6, we say 8.6. Okay, what about yoga? Who can tell us what yoga answer is?
2.3%.
2. Say it again, Sawad. 2.
Point.
Point.
3%.
2.3.
I was waiting so much. She gave me the first part. 2.3. Yeah, there you go, Sawad. Very good. Okay. Now, let's jump to number 3. So, Patrick, you said you seem surprised by this answer about soccer 1.5%. Why was that surprising to you, Patrick?
Yeah, because for me, soccer is the most practices sport. Practices is the right word. Okay, so I was thinking soccer will have. Oh, sorry. Hello.
There you go.
You
There you
hear
go. I
me?
can hear you now. I was about to say I
Oh.
couldn't hear you there first, but I thought maybe you were in your car or you're leaving.
No,
Okay, say it again.
I was thinking soccer is like in my country and many countries I already visited. It's the most popular sport. Or yeah,
So were you
and
surprised by here in the United States? Is that
yeah, it's like the which place before the last place.
yeah?
And the second thing I'm surprised about is I can't see any. I don't see football, American football.
Now
It's
I was listening to some of the other groups, Patrick, and other groups said the same thing. So I think it's talking about maybe if you've noticed, these are activities that you can do individually too. But
okay.
you're right. I noticed that baseball, because baseball, you can't really play baseball by yourself. So I was
Mhm.
surprised by that too, that football is not even on the list, American football. So that's a great point. That's surprising to me too. That's very surprising. Yeah, because I definitely think American football would have been at least more
And
popular than baseball. But yeah, I don't know.
we figured out something too, and it looks like the individual sport are more practiced than the team sport.
It seems, especially because I think a lot of people, especially walking or swimming, they're probably not doing this like professionally or intensely. Maybe they're doing it a few times a week. So I think that's a great point. Now, if you're lifting weights, I mean, you probably do that more than just once a week. So that's a good point too, Patrick. Most of these seem to be more individual instead of sports. So let's jump to question number 4. So guys, real quickly, if you think we did this for your country, would soccer be number 1 for many of you? Or what activity do you think would still be number 1? Do you think it would still be walking? What do you guys think?
I think walking is number 1.
You think walking would be? Okay. Do you think soccer would be number 2?
Yeah.
Soccer's number 1.
Soccer's number 1. You're
Yeah.
like a true Brazilian, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Baseball in my country is number 1.
Baseball. That's right. Venezuela, we think baseball. That's right. That's a huge sport in Venezuela.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other activities would be? So I hear maybe walking would still be kind of popular, but it sounds like baseball, soccer. Any other activities? Okay. Sounds like those would be the most popular then. Yeah. So again, these are thinking about exercise, right? Exercise. So not going to school. All right. Studying is not one of the maybe you like to study while you're riding your bike. I don't know. Maybe that's a good exercise. Well, anyway. So guys, this morning we were looking at a bar graph. So again, this is called a bar graph. Next week, we'll look at a couple of different kinds of graphs. Again, you've probably seen these before, but it's always good to talk about because explaining things using English, using the language you're studying, I think that just makes it better for us. We get to learn how to say things in a different way. Okay, now guys, real quickly here, I want to share 2 things before we leave here this morning. First off, I will post the next homework activity in the Burlington Messenger and in your email. So I'd like for you to finish the other 2 Burlington English activities. There are 2 speaking activities that I'd like for you to finish before next time. So I will send that to you in your Burlington Messenger and in your email. Also, I will continue to look at the answers you give me in the Burlington Messenger. Some of you have done the activity. I have responded to you, so I will continue to look at those. Now, remember, this is for next Tuesday, okay? So you've got plenty of time to finish these activities. Now, guys, before we leave here, you probably got the email from me yesterday talking about our fall session schedule. So I want to take a moment, since we are getting close to the end of the summer session, let's talk a little bit about the fall. Now, first off, I do want to mention to everyone, one of our teachers has left. So one of our teachers is now, teaching full-time at a different program. So now there are just two teachers, me and Miss Joan. So in this case, we had to change our schedules a little bit so that we could teach, so that each of us could teach different classes. So I just want to highlight for everybody what the fall schedule is going to be, just very quickly. So again, for us, summer and fall basically are going to, summer will finish next week, and then the fall session will begin basically August 14th. Now, all of you do not have to register again. You've already registered, so you don't have to register again. But I do want to point out this class that we are offering, we will continue to offer, but now we are going to return to 2 days a week for this particular class. So we've done the conversation class for the summer. I don't think I'm going to do that for the fall. It's a lot of work to do the conversation class. So I think I'm just going to offer this class, this high intermediate class, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you can see here on the schedule, our classes here for the morning session will continue Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 to 11:30. And then if you're going to join us in the evening time, the schedule is a little different. Again, I have to teach some more classes now. So if you are going to join us in the evening session, our times have changed. It is now 6:45 to 8:15. So this case, I decided to kind of put both of our low advanced and our high intermediate classes together. Now, I also would like to finish with this. We are going to start offering an advanced reading class. Now, this advanced reading class, we will contact students who we feel are perhaps ready to take this class. So again, the advanced reading class is kind of by invitation. So in this case, I would suggest, if you're not sure, you can contact me. But the advanced reading class is especially for students who are ready to begin moving on, perhaps to a GED program. Some of us are getting close to that level, but we will send you an email if we are going to invite you to the class. I think for now, everyone that's in the class right now, I think the high intermediate class is still a good place for everybody. So I would still recommend the Tuesday, Thursday class. But for Mondays and Wednesdays, we are going to offer an advanced reading class in the mornings from 10 to 11 and in the afternoons from 6 to 7. Now, again, these will be by invitation, so I will send specific students an invitation. And again, maybe you're not ready now, but maybe you'll be ready, maybe, January, for example. So we'll contact you. But the idea is we do have students who are perhaps ready to start moving on into GED study or maybe university study. So that class, again, will be offered. Again, shorter sessions. So you saw that in the schedule as well. Finally, I know some of you are taking classes with Miss Joan. Some of you are in the low intermediate or high beginning class. Please note that Miss Joan's schedule for those classes has changed as well. So now we are not offering two separate classes. There's just one. So it's a high beginning, low intermediate class together. So that's on Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 to 11:15, and then in the evening, 7:30 to 8:45. Okay. Now, if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to contact me. But remember, this schedule begins in August, August 14th. So we still have one more week of the summer session, and then classes will return August 14th. Okay. Now, do I have any questions right now before we leave here this morning? Any other questions? Okay. Well, again, if you do have any more specific questions, please, you're welcome to send me an email. But in this case, I think we're trying to keep the schedule pretty much the same as we were for the summer session. So I do hope everyone is going to join us for the fall. And remember, you'll get an invitation for the fall session for the Tuesday, Thursday class, probably next week.